Thanks for listening to Exploring the Wine Glass podcast, the podcast for people who love wine. I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program and WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass. On this episode of Exploring the Wine Glass, I sit down with Solis Cohen of Tasting Merchants, your online resource for small batch wines. I first met Simon on Instagram. I may have mixed feelings about this platform, but in this case, it proved to know what it was doing when they recommended Tasting Merchants to me. I clicked the follow button and liked several photos, and then there was a DM. We conversed a few times within Instagram and then decided a phone call was in order. I spoke with him as I was walking the very loud streets of New York City, and we discussed how I can help promote not only his business, but the wineries he supports. Shortly after, I received 2 samples, a Cabernet Franc and a Grenache Blanc, both of which I enjoyed and posted on my social media channels. Join me today as I interview Simon and find out more about him, Tasting Merchants, the 2 wines I sampled, as well as the other wineries in his portfolio. Sláinte. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Dracena Wines on Wine. And as you know, in these episodes, basically what I am doing is I am talking to people in different facets of the wine industry. So we do winemakers, we do wine club curators, we do importers, exporters, we do family farmers, everything that has to do with relating to the wine industry. Basically, the main thread between all of this is that the person who is in this wine industry is pursuing their passion. And that's what we are all about at Dracena Wines. So today, I have Simon Solis Cohen with me, and he's a lot, but how we found each other was on Instagram. Yay, Instagram, about Tasting Merchants. So, hi, Simon. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As much as sometimes I want to strangle Instagram, the other part of it is somehow their algorithms know who wants to talk to who, because you just popped up one day on my Instagram feed as, you should follow this person. And I did. And that was how our relationship started. So, I guess there is some value to Instagram.
There is. It's a constant battle trying to keep up with their algorithms. But, yeah, hey, sometimes it works out and you make great connections.
Yes, yes. Although this first question really has absolutely nothing to do with wine, I always say that I stalk people on the internet when it comes time for coming up with questions. I want them to be relevant, and I want to try to get to know the person before I interview them. And one of the things that popped up about you is that, you are Google AdWords and Google Analytics certified. And I almost fell off of my chair when I read that, because I cannot, for the life of me, understand Google Analytics. I took that program they have to train you, and I honestly, it's the secret but not so secret, I was like, I don't know these answers, and I Googled the answers to the questions to try to figure out their quizzes, which is really not the way to go. So I quit. I gave up. So, how did you get into the Google, that aspect of it, and then does it play a role in what you do today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, no, so what we're doing with Tasting Merchants is we are an online-only wine store. So people can come to our website and they can discover our wines and purchase them. And so we don't have any physical locations. So knowing that we have the challenge of finding customers and customers finding us, I thought, well, wow, we really need to make sure we know what we're doing. And so Google obviously is an amazing platform and gives so many opportunities for being able to do advertising and then being able to measure the data. And so for me, it's like, if we're going to do this, we got to go all in. We got to know how we can do it properly. So we're utilizing Google Ads all the time. We're running ads trying to target people searching for specific wines or maybe not so specific wines, just more general wine education and thoughts, showing our ads, getting people onto our website, measuring the results, and then trying to retarget them and trying to get those sales. So for us, it's definitely a very modern way. I can't say many winemakers or wine marketing professionals, 10, 20 years ago thought that would be a necessary skill. But today, that's really what you have to do to be able to compete and be able to sell wine digitally online.
So we do not have a tasting room at Dracaena Wine, so we are all about social media, and that is why I did that Google Analytics. It's just over my head. It's just over, I'm like,
it's not easy.
I'm listening to their little videos, and they're all smiley, and, this is a piece of cake, and I'm like, I can't even do the test program you're talking about. So I quit. I was like, you know what? I'll come back to it another time, and I've never done that. All right. So enough non-wine stuff. Let's get into some wine. You actually studied in the court of Master Sommeliers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I took their introductory level 1 program a couple of years ago.
What does that entry level mean? What does that certification mean that you did?
Yeah, so basically it was a one-day session that I partook in, and there was a lecture and tasting where they had 3 master sommeliers there, which was obviously an amazing experience to listen and learn from. And then it culminated with a test at the end of it, which I forget the length, it was like 50 or so multiple choice questions. And then if you got a passing score, they give you the certificate and you get to use that on your resume. But for me, it really wasn't about that. It was just about establishing a baseline level of wine knowledge. Does it qualify me to call myself a sommelier? No, I hate that term. I never use it. And I think that sometimes it can scare people away with the field I'm in. And so for tasting merchants in general, we're all about keeping wine approachable. But it's important that as someone who's running it and curating these wines and tasting it, that we have a baseline where we know, we understand wine, we get how it's produced, we can talk the talk, walk the walk for people who want to play that and have those conversations. But for the everyday consumer who doesn't really care what, the Grand Crus of Burgundy are, that's okay. We don't need to get into that. We can just simply talk about why this is yummy and why it's great. And so I think being able to pull both sides of that conversation are really important when you're ever dealing with selling wine.
Right. And so I went through the WSET program, so I'm level 2 certified, and that was kind of why I did it also. It's like I know all of this science and I know all of this realm, the winemaking realm, but I wanted to see what the other side of it was. And I think it gives a nice broader perspective so that you're not so narrow focused on something. When did you actually do that program?
Oh gosh, I'd have to think back. Probably, I think that was maybe like 7 or 8 years ago now. So it's been a while, yeah. But it's constant. I'm constantly, obviously, keeping up, reading, learning, tasting. I mean, I joke around with people all the time, but the best way to learn in the wine industry, I say, is practice makes perfect. And you just keep tasting and tasting
Pour
and
yourself
tasting.
Another glass.
It's the only way to learn. It's maybe a workplace hazard, but I'll take it.
And did you choose that program over the WSET for a particular reason? Was it just more, available at that point? What?
Yeah, no, so, at that point, to be honest, it was just simply available. Where I was, there happened to be a session coming, so it was really convenient. So I'll say geography-wise, the convenience of it was really good. If I was to do it all over again, I probably would have maybe done with the WSET. Because I think that's a little bit more theory. The Quarter Master Sommeliers is really for people, in my opinion, working in restaurants or hotels, people who are managing large wine lists and need to know a little bit, or in cases for more advanced people, a lot of bit about a lot of different wines. For what we do, we sell exclusively American wines. And so, I don't personally have plans to do any more testing or anything like that because, as I said, I'm not curating a wine list of every different region's wines. But for me, where I learn and where I study is just by visiting wineries, talking to winemakers, and just rolling my sleeves up and getting next to them and saying, oh, wait, what are you doing? Teach me. And for me, that's actually more important than any test or any certification or anything like that that you can have. It's just showing up, and that's half the battle, really.
I agree. So when you took this class, did you have tasting merchants in your mind?
No, not at all. I didn't even necessarily know if I was going to work in the wine industry full time or not at that point. That was back when I was still very much focused in the restaurant world. My background is, prior to getting into wine industry, was started in restaurants, actually in kitchens. Most people, when I say that, think, oh, okay, yeah, you were a sommelier or a server. No, I actually started in the kitchens. But that actually, I think, has provided me an amazing foundation for wine. I'd say with the, testing and all of that, what I struggle with is like the memorization. I was never that kid in school who could memorize the dates of this war and how many people did this or that. That was never my strong suit. But my strong suit is tasting. And so being a chef first and starting the culinary world first and just loving to travel and go to farmers markets and taste things and experience new flavors, it's really developed my palate. So when I sit down and I'm tasting a wine, I can play that game with someone and like, oh, what do you taste here and there? And it's not because you're making it up, but it's just because I've experienced so many unique flavors and spices and fruits and things like that. So it actually really was a benefit to start in a kitchen and then move into the wine world.
Right. My husband, he's a food scientist, and he, for years, he creates products that industry, that you're eating basically, and his palate is the same way. We can go to a restaurant and I can eat something. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. He'll take a bite of it, and in his brain, he can dissect the ingredients and then come home and basically reproduce that dish. And when it comes to wine, I agree with you 100%. The more you go out and taste whatever is out there, the better your palate's going to be when you want to describe wine. If you want to say more than I like it or I don't like it, because there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, that's more than anyone needs. If they can go further, it's a good party trick. That's certainly not a qualification to be a wine drinker.
Right. And I say all the time, I'm like, you know what? Go to a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods or something and just walk around and pick things you haven't eaten before and take it home and taste it so that your palate can learn what those foods are. Yeah,
I love going to spice stores. There's a great chain of spice stores close to where I live here called Penzies, and so they have just these big jars where you can just open and smell all the spices, and so it's an amazing thing. And I love to cook, obviously, at home since I don't cook professionally anymore, and I love different cuisines and spices. So I'm always going, smelling these spices, and that's just giving me such a great baseline. And I'd say it's like calibration. You've got to calibrate. What does that actually smell like, and create those flavor memories, because those are your strongest memories. So when you do drink wine, oh gosh, yeah, that smells like that time I made apple pie and I had cloves, or something like that. Or if it's springtime, spring's my favorite time of year. I literally smell every flower. My wife thinks I'm a little crazy probably. Every time there's a flower, I smell it. One, I think they smell great. But two, it's such a great way to calibrate your nose. And, we have these amazing wildflowers and violets that grow near us and these beautiful purple bushes on our corner where we live. And so I'm always sniffing them because, like, great, now I know what purple flowers taste like and smell like. It's crazy, but that's really the only way you're going to figure it out.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And it's good to look weird sometimes, it's fun.
I do that most of the time, but I embrace it.
So you mentioned it kind of a little bit, but you actually went to the Culinary Institute of America and you graduated with a culinary arts management degree. So when you went to school, did you think restaurant? That was where you were heading? Oh, yeah,
that was absolutely. Definitely. I mean, I joke I'm now retired from kitchens, but basically, yeah, that was where I started my life and started my career since I was in high school. Honestly, I was working in restaurants and working my way up through Culinary Institute and things like that. And after school, worked a little bit in restaurants. And for me, that was definitely my dream. That's what I thought I wanted to do. And then, I realized one day that it just wasn't what I wanted to spend my life doing. I love interacting with people. I love business. I love creating things. And unless you are the head chef of a restaurant, you don't really get that opportunity. You know, you're the guy in the back chopping the carrots, and I've humbled myself for many years to do that, and that's okay. But I didn't feel working in a restaurant as a cook that I had the opportunity to explore the other sides of who I am and my personality, and that is, as I said, interact with the people and the business side of it. And wine was just a natural extension. I mean, I took that core to Master Sommelier test with no interest of ever being in the wine industry, but it was like, it's something to do. I have the knowledge. I can do it. Great. And I actually ended up paying, for itself over time now that I've put it to use. But yeah, it was definitely always my intention to like open a restaurant one day. And then it just kind of decided it wasn't the right fit, and wine provides such a unique journey and honestly a much more stable and long-lasting career. It's hard to look around unless you're a famous chef. It's hard to be over 40 or 50 and still work in a kitchen, and you have to kind of pivot after a while. So this was definitely an earlier pivot than I ever thought I would, but it's definitely something I can sustain throughout, the rest of my life, hopefully.
Right. And like you said, you might not be in that field right now, but that part of your history plays a major role in your abilities today with the wine, cooking and the essences and all of that stuff. So you were a wine educator at Gurgage Hills. Mm-hmm. And so one of my best friends, shout out to Nick Berube, that's where he is now. So he's the director of marketing and direct-to-consumer sales. So what was it like to work at such a historical winery? I mean, that's Gurgage Hills. It's like, bow down, Gurgage Hills.
Yeah, no, it's a really amazing experience. That was my first foray into the professional wine world. That was my first wine job, and it was eye-opening. My journey started really simply and humbly, at the bottom, and I started, going into the wine industry, and it was interesting. I was like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to work? And so I applied for a job there, and at that time, all they had available was 3-day-a-week position. So that's where I started, just working 3 days a week on the in the tasting room on the sales floor. And so I started just doing the wine tasting for people, taking them on tours, and pretty quickly within a week or two, I was like, oh wow, I have a knack for this, and this is something I really enjoy. I love talking to people. I called myself a glorified bartender. That's really how I viewed it. Everyone was like, oh, sommelier. Like, no, I'm not a sommelier. I pour the same 5 wines every day, and I talk about this every day. But to me, that's a really small portion of the job. The job it taught me how to connect with people and how to talk with them and how to make them feel like wine is not intimidating. Because I think one of the hardest things for people is to jump into wine. You're either in it or you're not in it. And it was so interesting. When I was working there and I'd be doing tastings with folks, they'd come in, and one of the first things they would do, I'd say, oh, hi, like introduce myself. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you like to drink? Typically, just to get to know them and understand, break the ice. And the first thing people do is apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know anything. And it was amazing. And this would happen all the time. People would be apologizing to me for not knowing about wine. I've never seen someone walk into a restaurant and say, maybe it's a new cuisine. Maybe they've never had, I'm making up, maybe they've never had Thai food before. You don't walk in and go to the waiter and say, I'm sorry, I don't know Thai food. No, you look at the menu, you look around, maybe you ask for a recommendation, you order something, you eat it. You don't apologize. And so in no other consumable product do you start with an apology and with an acknowledgement that you're not worthy. And that really upsets me. And that really made me think about wine and my role in the industry and where I wanted to be. And that's why I said I stay away from sort of the sommelier title, and I stay away from that kind of part of the world and really focus on connecting with everyday people and trying to say, hey, if you like it, that's great. Why do you like it? Because it tastes good? If that's your answer, that's a good answer. If you can say you like it because it has a balance this and the acidity is that and the body is that, that's cool too, but that's not necessary. And so that was really so eye-opening, just being behind a bar for so long, just talking with people. And then from there, I was able to really grow into bigger roles and start going more onto what I do now, which is the e-commerce. We're focusing on the direct-to-consumer sales, and it really just made me realize, like, wow, the possibilities are endless. And it was obviously such an amazing brand with such a massive, massive following. So it was great. You know, it's not like we had to work for customers. People flew in the door. I mean, we'd see hundreds of people a day there. And so at that point, I was just really making connections. You don't need to sell them. The wine's great. The wine's good. You don't have to sell it. You just have to facilitate the transaction. And that, I think, is through just treating people normally, you know.
You know, I think that of all the people I talk to in the wine industry and people I've interviewed, you're actually the first person who has said that, and it's so true. People come in apologetically. They walk in, you know, I can do a private tasting for somebody, and the first thing they say to me is, oh, I'm really sorry, I don't know really about wine. And I'm like, well, all I care about is whether you like my wine or you don't like my wine, and you know, all the rest of it will come if you want it to come. You know, you are 100% right. You do not need to know this is the, you know, oh, this is blueberry, this is blackberry, this is cherry, or oh, the high acidity, low acidity. All you need to know is whether you want another glass of it, right?
Yeah, and I think as an industry, we've done this to ourselves. We've built this wall. We've hid behind critics. We've pushed critics forward. We've put critics on a pedestal, and we've created this idea that every wine can be diluted to a number, and every wine can be diluted to 3 sentences of flowy, flowery BS about how it tastes. Right. And that if you can't respond to that, if you don't taste blackberries and currants in this wine, then you're not good enough to drink it. And so that's how I see my role and what my mission is. Sure, on Tasting Merchant's website, we have tasting notes because people do want to know what it tastes like, but that is a very small part of the information. For us, it's about the story, and that's where wine matters. Because at the end of the day, I truly, honestly believe most people do not care what they drink. I really believe that. I don't think they care if they're drinking Cabernet A or Cabernet B. But if all things are same, if the price points are the same, and if, you know, the relative scores or quality are the same, what do they care about is who they support and the story and where it came from, and does it align with them and their ethos. And that's how I think the wine industry can keep moving forward, is to push scores away, push that, you know, the flowery tasting notes away. Anybody can say Chardonnay tastes like creme brulee. That's not a unique selling point. But if I can say that this was handpicked by a guy who studied in Burgundy for 5 years, that he farms this way because he's found the secret method to, you know, long-lasting vines, now we're talking. Now that's interesting. Or if this is a dream of a husband and a wife, and they did a Kickstarter campaign, and they took 3 years to build this and finally realized their dream, now that's something. That's what we can connect to. And so that's why I think the industry is just kind of, it's going in the wrong direction, and I'm really trying to pull it to where I think it should be going if it wants to sustain itself.
I agree 100%. So after you left Gergich, you went to Mi Sueño. And so I have not had the pleasure of tasting their wines, but I've seen a lot of them on there. But that's kind of like polar opposites of wine industry, right? You've got Gergich, and then you've got this husband and wife who named their winery after my dream, right? That's what it means. Exactly. Do you think that when you went there, that just what you just went through of how you see the wine industry needs to go, do you think that was a great fit for you? That, because from what I understand of their winery, they kind of have that same passion that you just stated.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was really eye-opening. One, it showed what it was like to work for a small producer, you know, someone who doesn't have as big of a following as Gergich, who's been around for decades and who makes, you know, tens of thousands of cases of wine, you know, versus going to somebody who makes a couple thousand cases of wine, who's, you know, the number of people on their list is much smaller. They're just a different entity. They're not on the side of Highway 29 with a big sign. And so that is the reality of the wine industry. And I think that we all go to the same retail stores. We see the same bottles. We drive down Highway 29 or Silverado Trail in that, but we see the same big players. But one of the statistics I read that just blew my mind was that 80% of wineries in America make only 5,000 cases of wine or less. 80% make 5,000 cases or less. That is the wine industry. Yet we've only talk about and give attention to the bigger people. And I'm not saying they don't deserve attention, they do. But I think we have to make sure we're giving equal and if not more attention to the folks with the smaller marketing budgets and with a different point of view. And so that was what was the beauty of Mi Sueño, is really that humbling experience to realize, wow, this is really what it's like for the majority of wineries. I had a gift being able to work at such a reputable winery like Gergich that, as I said, people came in the doors without even having to ask them. And so it really gave me the inspiration for tasting merchants and for focusing on small batch and small production wines. And I'm not saying that they're always going to be better than large batch. I mean, yeah, sure, there's some people like Gergich who are making tens of thousands of cases who can keep the quality up. But in my opinion, there's something really special about those small batch wines where there's a story and there's more of that connection. And they can take more risks when they make these wines, and they can have more personality with these wines. It's less of a, mass consumer product when you're at that level, because at the end of the day, those winemakers then make the wines they want. And if you like it, great. If not, that's okay. There's plenty of options. So Mi Sueño was really just that eye-opening experience to understand what it really means to be a small batch winery at the end of the day.
Yeah, so when I saw that you went from Gergich to them, I was like, all right, I can start to see where now tasting merchants starts to evolve in your brain a bit of let's work with, let's promote these little guys, because like you said, they don't have the marketing. When you go out and you recognize those names of those big leagues, that's because they have many employees that can specialize in single things, and they have a marketing team that's all they do. Where you go to the wineries that you're promoting in tasting merchants, it's the husband and wife or the children or whatever. They are in the vineyard. They are on the bottling line. They are doing the winemaking. They are the ones marketing. They are the ones traveling to try to sell the wine. And the budget's just not there. So, is that about, how far, at what point did you come up with the concept of tasting merchants?
Yeah, no, it was about the end of my time there that I was realizing that, as you said, one, people need help. These wineries need help, and it's not because of any of their own fault. It's just they don't have the resources to get the distribution. They don't have the resources to have the megaphone. Money is a megaphone in this day and age, especially when we're talking digitally. I mean, I can tell you just from how much money I'm spending on Facebook and Google ads. The more I spend, the more customers I can connect to. But for a lot of wineries, they don't have that budget. And so in a sense, we're kind of a quasi-marketing department for all of the wineries that we work with and whose wines we carry. We're helping to push their name out there and help them get exposure. And that's really the goal here. And we want to really go with this concept that if we can bring everybody together, we can really amplify the voice and provide a megaphone to everybody. And it's really about strength in numbers at the end of the day. And so what we're doing is we're sourcing and we're finding small batch producers from America. Right now, specifically working just with Californian wineries, and eventually we're going to hope to expand to other states because there, of course, is great wine in other states. And we're working with them, and I reach out to these wineries, and they reach out to me. And it's so funny, when we have these conversations, it's usually the owner / winemaker that I'm talking to. And that, it goes to your point of they don't have marketing departments. Maybe they have one or two people who work with them, but 9 times out of the 10, the people I talk to, it's a team of one.
Right.
And so they can't do everything. There's just not enough hours in the day. They got to make the wine. They got to deal with the licensing and the permit. So, okay, let us at Tasting Merchants do what we're best at, which is e-commerce, digital sales, and connecting and engaging consumers with our content. That's what we're all about. And so that's how we really see our mission and our void. And then also I tried to think not only as someone in the industry, but as a consumer. For instance, when I was at Mi Sueño, people were part of our wine club and part of a lot of other wine clubs. And, sometimes financial times get tough for people and they have to cancel some wine clubs or they want to consolidate. And I thought, why should they have to choose? Why should they choose between one small batch winery and another? What if there's a place where they could go and they could get all the small batch wines in one box? And that was really the drive for this, is that we have done all of the work of finding these people. And we do a lot of testing. We don't just take anybody on. We are really, really ruthless, I must say. And it hurts my heart. I mean, there are people I spend an hour on the phone with. I fall in love with their story. I'm so excited about the wine. And then we taste it, and it's just like, sorry, it doesn't meet the quality that we want for our platform and for what we sell. I mean, I will never sell anything I would not buy or drink myself. That is the number one rule. And I'm not saying it has to be my personal taste of wine. There's certain things, like I don't personally drink tons of Cabernet. I drink a lot of other wines, but I can appreciate what a good quality Cabernet is. And so that's what it's about. We want to make sure that they have just a baseline quality at the end of the day. And so we have people send us samples. We taste every single thing before we sell it. And we reject way more than we accept. Just last month we did a tasting. We drank about 2.5 cases of wine. I say drank, I mean tasted.
Right.
About 2.5 cases of wine. And out of all of that, there's only 2 wines that we're bringing onto our platform. And so that shows how picky we are. This is not just a, hey, anybody can be part of it. I mean, we have a social and industry-specific mission, but we still also have our own name that we have to stand behind.
Right.
But the idea is that we're going to find these people, put them on our platform, help you discover people you're never going to find. There's only so many ways to Google small batch wines or limited production wines or family-owned wines. You're only going to get the same 10 people. And so this is a place where you can come, discover people and wineries you've never discovered, read their stories. We have tons of photos. Some of them we even have videos for. Fall in love with them, make your mouth water, learn about their wines, and you can buy some. You can buy just one, you can buy cases, whatever you want, and you can mix and match, which is the most fun. It's really about the discovery. That's really what we're all about.
We're going to come back to Tasting Merchants, but you actually have another company, right? Or you have Highway 29 Creative?
Yeah, so that's really, I'd say not to make it sound bigger than it is, but that's the parent company of Tasting Merchants. So basically, that is our main goal and job every day, and Tasting Merchants, in a sense, is our side project that's developed that we manage. But basically, Highway 29 Creative is a digital marketing agency for the wine industry. So we work with wineries all over the country, and we help them go through everything we've just talked about. We help them with building and designing websites. We help integrate them with winery-specific e-commerce platforms. We can help them with their Google ads and their Google Analytics and their Facebook ads. And we really show them the roadmap to selling wine online and to do digital and to do e-commerce, because the old way of doing it isn't going to work anymore. There's too many wineries. There's too much competition. So Tasting Merchants has become, I say to our potential clients, it's our in-house case study, and we're putting our money where our mouth is and also trying to do some good and give back to the industry by spending our money. I mean, I can tell you right now, Tasting Merchants is not about making profit today. I mean, obviously that's the goal one day, but we spend way more in advertising than we do in our profits that we have today. But that's because we're out there advertising these wineries. I'm not advertising Tasting Merchants. When you see our ads, it's the stories of these winemakers. So we're really helping them and helping put their name out there. And then it's a sandbox, and it's a place for us to try new ideas, to try new digital marketing techniques, to optimize our website. And so it's been a really great way where we, as I said, put our money where our mouth is, but also try to drive our personal mission forward too.
And now a word from our sponsor. Exploring the Wine Glass is brought to you by Dracaena Wines. Dracaena Wines is an artisan winery located in Paso Robles, California. They have been producing wine since 2013. Their first vintage began with one wine, their classic Cabernet Franc, which received a 91 in Wine Enthusiast. Since then, they have increased production, received several accolades, including double gold medals in the San Francisco Chronicle Wine Competition and consistent 90-plus ratings. In addition to their classic Cabernet Franc, they now produce a single vineyard, single clone Reserve Cabernet Franc and a Rosé of Syrah. Although they've increased production every year, they continue to sell out each vintage. Find out more about Dracaena Wines and their award-winning wines at dracaenawines.com and let them help turn your moments into great memories. Going back to Tasting Merchants, how you said that wineries, you taste like 2.5 cases, whatever. How does a winery, a small production winery, get on your site or get part of
Yeah.
What do they have to go through?
Yeah, so on our website we have a link called Winery Partners, and they can go to that, and it's a simple form to fill out. Just gets their information to us, and then we follow up. We provide them the information with where to send samples, and that's the first step is the sampling, because we don't want to put anybody through a process or waste their time as a winery if it's just not going to be a fit for us. That wouldn't be fair. So the first step is they send us samples, and we try to do about a monthly tasting where I have a group that gets together, some wine professionals and some people who are everyday consumers, and we drink the wine and have fun and talk, and it's like, hey, what do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it meet the expectations? Would you buy it again? If you bought it, would you be satisfied having spent that much money? Those are the things we ask, and then we whittle it down. If we decide we like it, we work on creating some content. We do write some tasting notes while we're there. And then we come up with some questions for the winemakers, and then if we're going to move forward with them, we reach out to the winemakers, set up a time to interview with them, get to know their story, ask them a lot of questions, and then build the content for our website. And then we put it out there and market it to everybody and offer the wines for sale. So it's a little bit of a rigorous process. We definitely make wine. The wineries and the winemakers do a lot of work. They have to give us a lot of information, spend some time with us. But at the end of the day, as I said, just putting a bottle shot up on a website isn't enough to sell wine. You have to have that story. So we really want to make sure we have time to capture that story properly.
So does it work where if I go to your website, those wines are available on your website, but also the winery can sell it? You can sell that same wine, correct?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we by no means ever want to say, this is the only place to buy the wine. No, of course, those wineries are selling it on their website. And if you prefer to go through them, that's okay. We're not going to hold that against you. But the reason we think and hope people we've seen, we know because they buy, that they work through us is because of that discovery. Because, yeah, you could go and you can buy 6 bottles here, 6 bottles here, 6 bottles there, or whatever. But then you're going to have to pay 6 separate shipping fees. You're going to have to be home to sign for the wine 3 different times. It's a pain in the butt. Buying wine online has never been easy. And so that's what we tried to do. We tried to create a platform to make it easy where you can get all those wines. It all comes in the same box. You only have to sign for the delivery once. It's 1 shipping fee. We also offer shipping incentive. We always offer to folks $1 shipping on any 6 bottles they buy. That's just part of our business model and something that we always are going to continue to offer. And so that's really important because a lot of wineries can't afford to do that. Right. We've decided, hey, that's just part of our business model. We know that, so we're going to make sure that we can offer that $1 shipping incentive because thanks to Amazon, everybody wants free shipping.
Right.
Technically, free shipping is illegal for wines. That's why it's $1. But so that's something we can do to help really sell the wines and move them and provide customers the experience they're looking for at the end of the day.
So I was going at it. I didn't know if it was like the Wink model where those winemakers are making a specific wine specifically for you, and then it's sold on your site, or if you're basically purchasing wine from the winery that you then sell.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, these are real wines. These are real wines that if you go to those wineries, you'll taste them that they sell. Some of them have like limited distribution, like within their towns. Like a lot of the folks who work with, say, like the Central Coast, they have a few restaurants in the Central Coast that carry their wine. But especially if you don't live, say, in the Central Coast of California, and say you live in another state, you're really not going to find these wines. I mean, some of the wines we work with, we're talking a couple barrels produced. I mean, I think the smallest we have, I think we had a rosé that we're just about to finish up with and sell out of this summer where there was 25 cases produced. And they pretty much gave us all of those to sell. And we have a Cabernet Franc, which was amazing, that has 50 cases produced. So, like, this is, pretty much one of the only ways you're going to find it and get access to it outside of just driving and showing up at the winery. And, and for other places like Wink or whatever, those other types of platforms, those are not real wineries. Those are actually just people who are buying mass-produced bulk wine, and they're putting it together and labeling it and selling it. And so it's, those are the wines you're like, that's great, that's fine. And that's a totally different consumer than the consumers we have. The consumers for us are people who maybe spend a little bit more than, say, a Wink customer on wine. I mean, our wines start about $25. They go up to $100. Our sweet spot, we have tons of the 30s and 40s. But as I said, these are real wineries and real people and real stories. And that is what we're selling. And when you support us, you're supporting those people. That's what's really important at the end of the day.
So with that, you very generously sent me 2 samples. And I opened the box. I didn't know what you were sending. When we were talking, remember, I was like walking back from a wine event in New York City. All of the horns are blowing, all of that. And then I got on the ferry, which was even louder than walking in the city. And, so we were talking back and forth. But when I opened the box that you sent me a Cabernet Franc and a Grenache Blanc. And I don't know if you just really listened to what I was saying to you, because we produce Cab Franc and we are looking to produce a Grenache Blanc. So I don't know if you sent those specifically.
I did.
Because when I opened that box, I was like, damn, he's good. Like, he's good.
Yeah, thank you. We're about attention to detail here. We want to give people what they want.
He is good. I want to give you some opportunity to talk about some of the wineries that you represent, because you're so passionate about them, and that's what your whole Tasting Merchants is about. But since I got these samples, I want to make sure we cover these. The 2018 Canero Cellars Alice Grenache Blanc. He started making it because his father didn't like white wines, and then, of course, now his father has completely turned around and drinks white wine. But you are by no means, these wineries are small production and, or family owned and all that stuff, but they have high quality. This winery was named in the top 100 wines for the San Francisco Chronicle. So you are hunting for high quality wines.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what we're all about. And that's why when we do these tastings, we reject way more than we accept. And it's about quality. And as I said, if I'm not going to drink it, I'm not going to sell it at the end of the day. And, yeah, this wine is just outstanding, this Canero Cellars Grenache Blanc. The winemaker, Anthony, and his wife, actually, Hillary, they together put this wine together. Anthony's a winemaker. Hillary's a vineyard manager. They work actually for a lot of different brands. Anthony's day job is with Denner Cellars down in Paso Robles, which is obviously a really well-known, fantastic, high-quality producers. And he then consults actually for a few other brands as well. But Canero is one of his pet projects that he and his wife Hillary do themselves. Hillary's a vineyard manager, and so she's out there actually helping with the actual growing of the grapes, the farming, managing all of that aspect of it, managing the vineyard staff, when to pick, when to prune, when to water, all of that. And then, Anthony cakes the grapes, makes the wine in the cellar. And so they're sourcing grapes from a lot of really amazing vineyards for all their different jobs that they do. I mean, these two, I spent some time recently with them in Paso. I mean, they're some of the hardest working people I've ever met. I mean, I can't imagine how many wines he makes. It's amazing, but this is his private label that he does. That's just his. It's not for anybody else, and it's just amazing. This Grenache Blanc for me is just so light, so easy to drink. It's for people who like more of that fruitier style of wine, really expressive, a lot of great floral flavors in there. And Grenache Blanc is a grape that a lot of people probably haven't had in America. It's really slowly getting a following here. We do carry another Grenache Blanc on our website as well, and we're trying to really put it out there. But it's something, as I said, it's just not widely grown, but we think deserves a lot of attention. And that if, you like Chardonnay or you like Sauvignon Blanc, give Grenache Blanc a try. There's no reason not to. I mean, it's so fun and it's so lively. And the artwork on this bottle, I mean, I hate to say like about packaging, 'cause it's not just about the packaging, but it's a beautiful presentation that one of Anthony's friends actually did the artwork for. And it really just makes such an impact, and it really, I think, sort of sets the stage for the wine that you're about to taste.
Okay, so I was looking over to see why he named it Alice. And it's not on the website why it's named Alice. But I, of course, went Alice in Wonderland. So on social media, I did, I converted to the Drink Me, and people, the comments on the post are, it sounds like an intriguing wine. It's so wonderful, But also at $25, I personally think it's a bargain. I tasted it. I got medium minus aromas, white peach, wet stone, salinity, which whenever you put salinity into a wine, I'm all about it. And I think that's a key component to a Grenache Blanc, I feel that's what we would be looking for. And then the acidity in this wine was so spot on. It just made you salivate for another glass. Flavors of peach, lemon, pear, and the all important again for Grenache Blanc, minerality. And it called out everything that I feel a Grenache Blanc. And again, that's just my opinion. Everything that a Grenache Blanc should be, this was. I thought it was an excellent bottle. And when I looked on your site and it was $25, I was like, this is a great wine for a great price.
That's what we're all about. I mean, value is so important to me. Yeah, I have a $100 bottle of Cabernet we sell, but that is actually also undervalued. That $100 Cabernet should be a lot more. We're all about finding value-driven wines. And when you hit the small batch market, I mean, they're realistic. They know that they can't sell these for $90 because they don't have the name of, say, Gergachos or one of those bigger. So they're realistic. And so there's actually like a plus and a minus to that. But, you know, you're going to get amazing value with these wines. And, you know, the thing about this wine specifically that I think really speaks to our whole philosophy is, to me, this wine defines personality. It is just full of personality. It tastes like nothing you've ever had before. It is solely its own wine. And especially if you're used to drinking, say, like Napa white wines, oh, God, this is night and day. It's going to taste European to you. And it's going to make you really rethink what California white wine is going to taste like. And that's what we're all about. It's just a wine that just makes you go, woo, and then you want it, just really dig deep into it at the end of the day.
Right. I thought it was an excellent example of what a Grenache Blanc is because, as you said, many people have never heard of it and have never tasted it. And I think that when they taste this, it's setting the bar high for other producers. Do you know why it was called Alice?
No, that is actually a mystery. That is a mystery.
Yeah. Well, I converted it to Alice in Wonderland. So it is now forever Alice in Wonderland.
There we go.
Now, the second bottle you sent me was the 2018 Luna Heart Cabernet Franc. And what I wrote about them was Gretchen Velker specializes in small batch wines out of the Sentinez Valley, producing 3 wines: Sauvignon Blanc, Gruner, Veltliner, which, oh my God, I love Gruner, and Cabernet Franc. She obtained the wine bug while living in Europe and visited the French wine regions. After graduating from UC Santa Cruz with a plant science degree, she worked as an intern and has worked her way all the way up and has solidified. So this is her own label also, right? So she was also working for other wineries and now has...
And she still does. She still has a day job, actually, of working for another winery. And then this is just her side project as well. And that's what a lot of these wines are. A lot of the wines we have are these folks who have day jobs at these big name wineries that a lot of people know and drink, and then this is that personal moment of expression for them, and the wineries are usually nice and say, okay, fine, like, here, you can have this corner in our wine cellar, put a few barrels for yourself, and you can use our equipment, and, you know, we'll just charge you a very small, if any, fee. And so that's, to me, why, like, these ones are even more exciting, because these are, like, those, you know, demo tapes for, like, famous singers. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be famous one day. You might not know their name. You might know who they work for during the day, but this is really where they're digging their own name, and it's just amazing.
Right. To be working for Denner, as Anthony, you know, that's pretty impressive. And so now he's getting his own name out versus helping another winery. And we adored this Cab Franc also. We had black cherry, raspberry, tobacco. There was bell pepper in it, as does most Cab Francs do, but again, not an overpowering. So it was definitely a new world Cabernet Franc. It was not old world where you bring it up to your nose and, you know, you've just cut open a bell pepper. And then we've got medium acidity, medium tannin. The tannins were very nice in there, just enough to maintain the structure without overpowering the flavors. And candied cherry. We were sitting there like, what is this? What is this? And we were like, all right, this is candied cherry. And beautiful black pepper and nice herbal, you know, not herbal, herbs And then again, just a hint of green pepper so that when you're tasting it, you know it's a Cab Franc. Again, this one was $34. And again, I thought the quality of the wine was exceptional. And, you gotta, very confident in, all right, these two wines, the quality is there. I'm confident going to other wines on your site because I know it's going to be at the same level.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's what it's all about. Because I know that if that first bottle of wine you taste isn't good, you're never going to come back to us. So that's the thing. We make sure every wine we sell is of the quality that we know will make you come back. And so Gretchen, she is someone, I am just such a fan of Gretchen. She is 30 years old and already a winemaker for a bigger property, and then this is her side hustle that she's doing. The label is fun, it's young, it's hip, it has this great gold leaf. They're in the Hawk style bottle. Oh my God, it is just fun, and once again, full of personality. And this wine, I tasted it, and I swooned. I was so in love with this wine. It is just so juicy. Tons of that berry, that dark cherry, the black pepper. And this is a wine you can drink any day, anytime. Honestly, if you're someone who likes big, voluptuous wine, this is for you. You can drink it with a steak. You could have it with a barbecue. You could drink it with pizza. You could just drink it on a couch. I mean, it is a wine that you can use on any occasion if you're looking for a red wine. And yeah, it's a little bit lighter than a really dark, rich Napa Cabernet. It's definitely juicier, but it has more acidity. So it's going to be more food friendly, in my opinion. And it's going to be a little bit of a better partner for your meal. And this is a wine that if you took this Cab Franc and you put it in a bottle and you said Napa Valley Cabernet Franc, you could charge $70, I guarantee, for this wine. And if people taste it in a tasting room in Napa, they would pay $70. I have no doubt about it. And that is just what blows me away about Gretchen. And as I said, she made 50 cases of this wine. And so I know we're just about to be sold out of this vintage and moving on to the next one shortly. And as I said, she just inspires me. I mean, like, as I said, this is her demo tape. I guarantee she will be a big name in the wine industry. And I feel fortunate to have discovered her now and gotten to know her now, so I can be there and watch her and be part of that journey with her as she rises up, because she is just a powerhouse. And at 30, oh my God! I mean, she has decades to keep making wine. I can't even imagine. I'm like, oh my God, it could be better. Like, I don't even know what better would taste like, but it excites me so much. So, and that's true. And for me personally, also being on the younger side and being admittedly a millennial as well, like Gretchen, I wanted to support someone like her. I believe that we have to support people with our dollars, and the best way I could support another millennial small business owner is by carrying her wine. And I speak its gospel whenever I can. I bring it all the time to dinner parties. It's just that damn good.
Yeah. I'm impressed with the platform, with how it works. Are you buying actual cases? Are you contracting with them to buy actual cases, and now you're storing those cases? And if somebody orders from you, because you're saying they can pick and choose and then they're getting a single case, so that means you're the person who's physically shipping.
Well, yeah, I mean, not personally, but yes, we have a team for that. But yeah, we have our warehouse is in Napa, and so we store a collection of these wines there, and we we take a little bit, hold on to it, ship it out as the orders come in, and reorder as we need until it sells out. And some of the wines we have very limited amount of, and we've already sold out of and had to move on. Some of them we have a little bit of a larger amount of, depending on the volume. And so they do come and go, and we're constantly trying to add new wines. We have 2 wines right now we're working on adding to the platform. Hopefully in the next week or so we'll have them up once we can get all the stories written about these great winemakers. So so you can mix and match. We work with a really amazing wine shipping company that stores the wine for us and packs them up, ships them out. Fantastic customer service. If there's any issues with shipping, call us, we'll help you. And it's a great business model that we think we put together.
That's awesome. I think it sounds like a wonderful model. And I was scrolling through and looking, and this is a compliment.
Yeah.
There's not wineries that I've heard of.
Yeah. Good.
And that I think is what your niche is.
exactly what we want to be. Yeah, I think when we started, so we launched, with a small little, what I call MVP, minimal viable product. And I just sent the link out to friends and family. So just 6 wines on the platform. And when we did it, I sent it out and I sent it to my father-in-law. And so he lives in Illinois. And so he went over to Binny's. And he went on Binny's website, which is a really big, wine stores, like Total Wine or something like that for people who know those, large wine chains. And he goes, Simon, I'm really impressed. Of the 6 wines you carry, Binny's doesn't have a single one of them. And I was like, there we go. That's all I wanted to hear. I was like, yep. I never claimed this is the only place you're going to find it. I'm just telling you, it's going to be dang hard to find it and to get them all in one box. And that's what we're all about, unless you're going to go to Napa or go to Sonoma or go to the Central Coast and do it all and do all the shopping. So we're really here to help you discover these wines. And yeah, we want to make people buy things they've never tried before, because that's the whole point of wine. It's about discovering and trying new things.
Right. Excellent. Before we close out, is there anything I missed that you feel you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think we did a great job. And yeah, we just encourage everyone to check out our website, tastingmerchants.com. They can also follow us on the socials. You can check us out on Instagram at Tasting Merchants, Facebook as well. And, with there, we're always just focusing on the stories. For me personally, at first I'm apprehensive to, do a lot of, podcasts or marketing where it's about me, because that's not the story. Like I'm really about, like, my name is nowhere on Tasting Merchants website. My photo is nowhere there. And you might see some other companies where it's about the founder and their name and their photos there. And that's their business model. But for me, it's about these winemakers, and it's about celebrating their stories. And so all the content we're pushing out there is to celebrate these folks and to tell you a little bit more about them, show you their stories, show you what their day-to-day is. We have amazing relationships where these winemakers are taking photos and sending it to us so we can push it out, or videos or whatnot. And so, as we're getting to the harvest season, we're definitely going to have a lot more really fun content to try to capture harvest, which is just pretty much getting started, end of August, early September. So it's really exciting time. So we definitely have to invite everyone to visit our website, tastingmerchants.com, and check it out, support us, support these small family and small batch wineries.
Right. And if anybody wants to read more about the wines that Simon sent me on Exploring the Wine Glass on Instagram, there's a full tasting notes that you can see, and you can see the photos of the wines and see how pretty the labels are, and obviously realize how much I really enjoyed them.
Good. Well, we thank you.
So as with every Justina Wines on Wine, I always end with a little fun game of opposites. So are you ready?
Throw it on me. Yeah,
right.
Let's see.
Super, super simple. All I'm going to do is call out 2 terms. All you got to do is say which one resonates with you more. No right or wrong answer. Just whichever one pops in your head first.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start off with non-wine terms, and then we'll kind of move into wine terms. All right?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Night or day?
Day.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunrise.
Black or white?
Black.
Walk or run?
Run.
Food or drink?
Well, drink.
Old world or new world?
New.
Sweet or dry?
Dry.
Bubbles or still?
Both.
Depending on the mood. Start with bubbles, move to still. Oak or stainless?
Stainless.
Drink now or drink later?
Now.
Blend or varietal?
Varietal.
Vintage or non-vintage?
Vintage.
Cork or screw cap?
I will diplomatically say both because we carry both on our website.
Napa or Sonoma?
All of it. We carry it all. I can't.
I always feel bad asking that because I'm like, I represent Paso Robles. I should have Paso in there, but commercial or indigenous?
Indigenous.
Bordeaux or Rhone?
Rhone all the way.
And warm climate or cool climate?
Cold.
All right. See, super simple.
Not bad. I survived.
Super simple. Most have gone back to tasting merchants. The majority of them are varietals, correct?
Yeah, very few blends, very few blends. Blends are very tricky for us. I mean, we're not going to take a blend on unless it's really exceptional. So we do have a few up there right now. We have Barden wines with a blend called Fonte, which is a really fun white blend. And then we have a few, reds that are blended just because of, Cab Frog, Merlot, Petit, all that stuff. But yeah, we really try to stick more towards the varietal when not.
Right. That's what when I was scanning through, that's what I was noticing, that it was more of that. So thank you very, very much for not only the samples, but for the interview. And, as a small producer myself, thank you very much for supporting small producers. We need as much help as we can get getting our names out there. And the passion that you're showing in Tasting Merchants just is so obvious and so there that it exudes that this is what you really want, is just to help people find these wineries. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I'm also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt-Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. If you enjoyed our podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher to help others find me more easily. Until next week, sláinte!